stuff takes time. I mean,
It
it's even
does.
like, again, Star Wars was several years ahead of Marvel getting into all this nonsense. And
Yeah.
then Marvel comes following in. And then surely Star Wars will begin to realize that it's not a good route to
Well,
go.
they already do. They already do. And we can talk about that whenever you like, but they already do. And even despite people grumbling about Kathleen Kennedy apparently, allegedly getting some kind of contract renewal, it doesn't matter. She's finished, and the example I'll give is very simple. Is this happened to me directly? I worked for Disney. I was fired by Disney. I worked as the head writer for the Tron animated series Tron Uprising, and I made the mistake of crossing the wrong political streams, right? Using Ghostbusters terminology.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake because I'm this guy in real life. I'm a straightforward person. I'm a straight shooter. And when I see nonsense, I call it out rather than try to go around the person and backstab them. I just said, we got to fix this. And that doesn't work that way at Disney. And so I was let go, but I was let go in such a way that they needed to not let anyone know I was let go. So they basically said, this is what we're going to do. We don't want you here anymore. We don't want you in the office. We want you to leave right now. We're going to keep paying you your weekly paycheck for a year. Just stay home, enjoy your paycheck. We'll find somebody else to do your thing who's going to be compliant to what we want. And they did. And I said, no problem. I said, by the way, your show's going to get canceled because everything I warned you about is about to continue because you're just covering your eyes to it, which is the show got canceled, right? Everything I warned happened. But that's how Disney does it in particular. And where am I on the totem pole? Head writer of an animated show versus Kathleen Kennedy, right? And they're like, we got to keep this quiet. We don't want any drama, right? We're just going to keep paying you. We're just going to keep paying you. Just go home, and we're still on the roster, but you're out. And so that's what happened with Miss Kennedy. And we are now seeing incredible news just today. The two big things, and I just wrote on my Patreon, two big news. We've just got more and more rumors spreading. Now we had our friend WDW Pro, as well as what's her name? Grace. I'm forgetting
Grace Randolph. Yeah,
Grace
let me pull that up actually.
Yeah, pull that up. But they both, and when it's out in Grace Randolph, it's because someone specifically leaked it to her. So yeah, that thing. I hear Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are in talks to head over to the movie side of Star Wars. So basically, as people may know, all of the Star Wars movies, Rogue Squadron, everything that was allegedly in production was all shut down and delayed indefinitely. It's because it's all been killed. That's all Kennedy stuff, right? So, and I said, well, inevitably now these guys are taking over. And within a week and a half of that, this comes out through two sources on the same day. That means that was an intentional leak from, I think, Bob Chapek's office, because he knows people are upset about the rumors that Kennedy isn't physically out any more than I was physically out. I still got my paycheck, right? But so he's like now putting this out there, particularly Grace, who is a very popular with the normies. Like maybe WDW Pro is popular with the fans, but Grace is with like randos, right? They all watch her, right? So this is where he needed to get it out. And so that's huge news. And then the biggest news happened an hour ago, which I don't know if you've seen. We have the official word of Bob Iger's replacement as chairman of Disney.
No, who is that?
It is a new woman. I'll get you her name because I just wrote an article about it. So she's one of the. It's a woman, and she was one of the board members. Her name is Susan Arnold. Susan Arnold was one of the board members. She's going to come in as a new chairman of Disney on January 1st. And Susan Arnold is from the investor class. She worked for the Carlyle Group. So as I've said often in my Patreon and on some of the YouTube videos, that Bob Chapek represents the investor class that is very angry that Disney has been losing money for these past 5 years. So Disney stock fell 16% in the last 4 weeks. For the Carlyle Group, for Vanguard, Blackwater, all these guys, these huge funds that hold millions of shares of Disney, that's a loss of hundreds of millions of dollars, right? That's not good for them. And so it is not a surprise that a woman who comes from in one of the biggest, sort of shadiest, scariest investor groups, the Carlyle Group, right? It's one where presidents put their money in. You don't ask any questions, right? If she representing that is now the new chairwoman of Disney, that means this is going to be a completely investor-run operation, which is exactly what Bob Chapek needed to fix the ship.
Yeah, well, that would be good because, well, and I think what's kind of weird about the Kennedy contract, it's like it was leaked through kind of smaller online sources, and then no one really said yay or nay about it.
And no trade said anything. That's
yes.
Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. If you've been scooped by random fan site, it's embarrassing. And then you try to put out a more detailed, like, let's interview Kennedy herself, right? So that
Yes.
we can show we're not equal to these low bozo nobody fan sites, right? That they have contempt for, right? But not one word. It's because they were told by Chapek, shut up about this. We don't need any publicity about this. Nothing good will come out of this. I had to give her a Kamran Pasha payoff, right? But we don't need to bring any attention to it.
Yeah, and it is interesting, especially the news again that let me pull it back up, that Grace reported,
Yep.
because I mean it's what makes everyone happy. It's what makes sense, as you stated, which is
Yep.
true. It was Favreau who got the MCU started with
Yep.
Iron Man and his role in that. And this is what everyone wants. I mean, no one as a Star Wars fan has, okay, I should say no one. There's those who think Kathleen's done a fine job. But it's like, for the most part, we can all see, especially with retrospect, as
Yeah.
you look back over the sequel trilogy. I mean, my gosh, the fact that there wasn't a plotted out plan for the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, and the fact that you didn't put Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene, to me, was worth firing then.
Of course it was. And guess what? Guess who watched Ghostbusters Afterlife this past couple of weeks and got really angry? Bob Chapek. He watched it and goes, why the hell was I saddled with this garbage Star Wars legacy when all you had to do was this? All you had to do was this. You could have had a movie about a bunch of new characters, and as long as you brought in all the original characters and honored them, everyone is going to go wild. That's all you had to do. He saw that movie, and he saw how much money it's made and how profitable it is. And he's really angry because he's like, there's no excuse. You could have done this.
Yes, and I mean, talk about something that looks like basically an egg on Kathleen Kennedy's face is, after this has come out, all the conversation from fans is, this is what I wanted with Star Wars. And as you said, Jay, I mean, he has to be hearing and seeing this and just being like, what the heck went on under Bob Iger's watch with Kathleen Kennedy? Like,
I think he knows what went on. I mean, at that level, they all know each other's secrets, so he knows what went on. We're only seeing the surface level of stuff. The real stuff that went on between all these people is stuff that would be too mind-boggling for anybody to grasp, right? It involves it includes eyes wide shut parties and other stuff that you don't need to know anything about, right? That's that whole level of stuff where you're like, okay, I'd rather just believe that this is just a bunch of greedy people and not something like satanic happening here, which
right.
So, but